how many games this says games released. I think it was rather, because I picked this up from Steam Summer Festival. I think it was more which were promoted during the Steam Festival. I'm not sure anymore. Uh, and then the median earnings. And you can see that if I am making puzzle games, there already is games released. Like if you check puzzle games, there is more than 4,000 games in Steam. But the median, meaning the middle one, uh, half of the games sell better, half of the games sell worse. It's an uphill battle. You would need to be total outlier to be successful in puzzle genre. But then in walking simulators, there is already a lot less competition and the earnings are a lot better. I don't think the numbers are super duper small and everyone always cares that how small they are. But I work with numbers also quite a lot, so I'm pretty sure this is the summer sales of within one genre. If it's like there is a lot more walking simulators than whatever this would show and so forth. And of course, if some of you are making a mobile game and if you don't reach the top 1%, if you're not the best 1% of developers, then you're fucked because the best 1% takes 93% of all the money that moves in mobile games. But in PC side, there are genres where if you are in the top 25 of the earnings, so uh, better than 75% of the games, but there is still 25% better than you are, and you would have a multi-million euro game, meaning that's the cost of the game, you can still be profitable. So the genre selection that many of you were when I last time spoke, and at least those who have stayed in contact have made decisions, this decides already very heavily how difficult your game is going to be to make it successful. So genre choice is super duper meaningful choice. And then, of course, this we will be talking later on, but I want to already now emphasize more heavily on this, that nobody really wants the same experience. Even if there is like I like for strategy games or I like roguelikes or whatever, what makes a game successful isn't the things that are the same, but what you do different from the others. Uh, Players don't want to learn, so it is important to be in a familiar genre, or at least so that players learn fast how the game works, so that they don't have to put their brain capacity on that. How do I operate this vehicle? But you still need to offer something fresh. And unique selling points is the thing that attracts your players. So make sure you have those. We will be discussing unique selling points multiple times on multiple occasions. But if you don't have a unique selling point, basically from which angle for certain players your game is going to be the best, if you don't have at least one of those, then you're dead. Then there is no reason to believe that why in this whatever it's called, tower pile, why would you reach the top positions if you're offering just the same experience that everyone else is offering? That being said, I also want to start with well, maybe not with you guys, but I even whenever I'm holding a course, I come back to my favorite superhero, who is the Captain Obvious. Uh, Captain Obvious things is that you should design the game early on. There shouldn't be major holes how the game works. So major hole means that it's okay if you haven't yet figured out all the formulas how damage is delivered or how specific details work, but there shouldn't be like a major features that you have no idea how that works. So at least high level design should be there. And a reminder, even though we are in a business that idolizes iteration, that yes, prepare to iterate and so forth. But iteration means that you're throwing away work that could have been used better. And it's game designer's role to minimize the need for iteration. I tend to say that in every team or every game team, there is two people who need to live in the future. It's the team lead or CEO who needs to solve issues for the company or team, particularly money wise, before they are problems. And then game designer needs to see mistakes where on the direction we're heading before they really materialize inside the game. So designer needs to be living already in the future and see that if we do this, it will cause this, and then uh, keep the player experience in mind. But on top of that, you need to know your game. And okay, design and know what's the difference. Well, knowing your game is that you need to know what makes it stand out. Basically, you need to have unique selling points established. Uh, you should have design pillars established. I saw in some of the sessions that some of you already have, so I hope it's safe to assume that you know design pillars. But if not, then that's definitely going to be the topic for next time, together with unique selling points and comparative analysis and others. But let me know after the lesson, is design pillars or game pillars, is that familiar concept already to you? And you should know the competition as well. So using comparative analysis to the closest competitor, but closest successful competitors. So genres, hopefully the best selling, but if the genre is like a RPG or roguelike, then closest very successful competitor if there is like a clear different directions within the genre, so that you really nail down that the unique selling points that players, you yourself when you're developing, as well as later the marketing people, the journalists, the players, publishers, investors understand why this game has a chance to be a big success. Mm, that's about setting things up. So let's talk about who is going to play your game. I forgot to remove that one. But in order to know who is going to play your game, we need to start a bit of basics on psychology. So first of all, uh, who we are as a people, psychology, of course, is the science that digs deeper into our minds. But psychology is a relatively young field, but it is increasingly influential. Uh, Business has applied psychology for quite a while, and some of you might have heard innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, laggards, which a lot of the other businesses have been using maybe even decades already. This, in short, uh, this business adaptation is basically 5 stages where innovators are the ones that like trying new stuff. They are the smallest segment of people. They don't care if something is unpolished as long as it's new and cool. And if the new and cool is, they will spread the word so that early adopters will join in. They might be the innovators, might be the ones that are fine financing projects in Kickstarter or join your early access, and early adopters might join early access already, but probably at launch. And if the game seems to be successful, then early majority follows, and then late majority and laggards are the ones that will never touch your product in any case, uh, or game in our case. Now, this kind of thinking does help you design games if you're bold enough. I don't really use it myself, so but I can see that if the ambition level is super high, then sure, then this could be. And particularly if someone was making VR games, this could be something to consider. Uh, Business adaptation of psychology or personality tests, they are great. I encourage you to Google for more. And one thing that particularly the team leaders should check out is Simon Sinek's "How Great Leaders Inspire Action" video in YouTube. It's a TED Talk video, one of the best I've seen on how to establish a vision for your game studio and how do you communicate for your stuff. But that's a bit of a side note in any case for our topic today, which will, don't worry, relate heavily on game design. In internet or social media, particularly if someone is single, you might have stumbled to Myers-Briggs type indicator, kind of env and inv, and odd kind of four-letter shortenings of this 1960s personality test. It used to be back in Cold War era science, but it has been proven not to be science, more of a fun thing. And its main problem is that Myers-Briggs makes division in the middle. Now, pretty much on everything like this early adopters or late majority and all this, most of us in most stuff in life, we are distributed on a normal divider, normal jakauma. I don't know if what jakauma is in English, but this form I'm sure you have seen. So most of us are in the center. And any system that makes the division at the center is going to be problematic because we're all pretty average on most stuff. So in Myers-Briggs, this means that depending on your mood, if you're here, tomorrow you might be here, and then the result of whatever this Myers-Briggs shows will change dramatically. You suddenly jump into totally different category, and it's not science then. What is science though? What is the best psychological test? As far as I have studied, like what is the best, most commonly used is what is called Big Five or Ocean Model. Both are what it's called. And it, of course, fixes the issue because these two are pretty similar, and we notice that this guy here, yeah, he's very different. So it fits our everyday phenomenon, our everyday understanding as well. If you imagine someone and how someone is, if someone would be very far off, then we know that yeah, he's a super or she's a super introvert. But most of us are really just average. And what this ocean model is measuring is openness to experience. So basically, are we more cautious or more curious? What drives us in the getting experiences? If new stuff appears, are we wary or are we on something new? Then it measures conscientiousness. I don't know if I pronounced that right, even though I've pronounced it many times. That means that are we more organized or are we more careless? How does our homes look? For organized people, they are probably more neat, and careless people leave stuff around and so forth. Extroversion, of course, then means are we more energetic or more reserved, introverted or extroverted, and so forth. Then agreeableness, compassionate. Are we more compassionate or more rational? So if a friend uh, relies on you to tell something bad has happened or some problems they might have, is our approach more compassionate or more rational? Do we try to fix the situation or are we like, oh, tell me more, and so forth? And last but not least is neuroticism. So are we more confident or more nervous? Even though for our case, this neuroticism doesn't really matter. And I will tell in a second. Because this personality test has been adapted to games. So Quantic Foundry has analyzed over 1.5 million players, and already in the early early on they found that ocean model really uh, coincides with the domains of play, and they discovered that there are 12 principal player motivations that make us want to play something. And the only one that didn't provide good correlation is more of the neurotism. So the four basically provided good good match that if someone on the personality test is something, then it fits specific uh, player motivations. And these player motivations come in pairs. So it this means that typically if you like some motivation, then you probably like the other one as well. You will probably see, or yet you will see my result in a couple of slides. And there is mostly it follows this. In one case, it's clearly off. But that's the thing. Sometimes we're odd in some things, but most of the times we're pretty average. And if someone is making mobile games, then Game Refinery service is similar but tiny bit modified. They use different names, and their main service is also that we pretty much what I'm going to teach, even though I use the more of PC and console related Quantic Foundry thing. So, what are the player motivations? So, first of all, one joke that I usually make that players themselves, maybe some of you uh, answer that why do you like playing games? Well, it's playing games is sort of like escapism that I get to experience things I couldn't experience otherwise, but that's just half of the picture or a small part of the picture because playing games is more of uh, lost the word. It's more of psychology that we play the type of games that based on the type of people we are. So here are the player motivations. So destruction and excitement form together action cluster. So destruction motivation means that any player might like having mayhem in it, lots of explosives, chaos, and so forth. And excitement means fast-paced action, surprises, thrills, and so forth. And one thing I want to remind that these are not something that high high player motivation on something is better in any ways. No, the opposite of excitement is calmness. It means turn-based calm experiences where you can take all the time you want. So even 0% in excitement kind of gives you experience. It's not like the cup is full or not, but the opposite also works as a game or motivation. Social cluster is formed by competition. So people who like playing multiplayer games, obviously social cluster, but they want to have rankings in the games, want to have PvP matches and duels and so forth. And communities more of cooperative play, not necessarily always multiplayer, but often being on a team and chatting and interacting and being more social than just on the competition. Mastery is formed by strategy and challenge. Strategy means that I make decision now and I see in 2 hours the results of my decision. And challenge, importantly, is about player. So they want to have high difficulty levels. They are ready to practice. They want to hone their skills and so forth. And particularly compared to power, power is about the player character, not about the player. So don't mix challenge and power. Power means that I want to level up my character. It's cool first to kill rats and then titans at the end. You level him up gears and so forth. That motivation is power. And it goes together with completion. So getting all the collectibles or why someone wants to while playing Geralt of Rivia or some Baldur's Gate, why would they check the civilians' closets for items, while completionists like getting everything possible and seeing every bit of content there is. And together they form achievement cluster. And then immersion clearly is the escapism because fantasy means high lore. There is background to everything. You are being someone else, somewhere else. And it often goes together with elaborate plots, story, motivation, interesting characters, and so forth. And last but not least is design or creativity that forms from design. So expressing individuality. I want to name my cities in Civilization 7, and it still pisses me off that after a month of playing that game, I can't rename the cities. So easy to boost at least a little bit of creativity on the Civilization game, for example, something I'm playing at the moment. Discovery is design's pair. It means liking to explore places, liking to tinker with the mechanics, particularly the survival mechanics, like tinkering, what will that do, experimenting, what could happen if I do this to that, and so forth. Now, why and what benefit is it for us knowing all this? Well, I'm slowly going to get there, and here is, by the way, my profile. Mostly they do go in pairs, but then something happens on discovery and design. I'm not so big on discovery, but I'm quite high on design. That's probably why even in civilization I want to customize my cities and give them identity. There would be a lot more to this, and I do encourage everyone to bookmark Quantic Foundry's blog and study more there. For example, you will learn things like that some motivations are more age dependent, uh, meaning that by age the motivation usually goes down, but not all. Uh, like I have played strategy games since I was a child. Strategy game it stays very steady from childhood to pension age. That motivation is very stable when it comes to age. But uh, for example, with excitement, the stereotypical view on gaming is very age relevant. So it drops quite a lot over age. So much so that teenage girls who like excitement quite a lot, but not as much as teenage boys, but they do like a lot more excitement in their game than men over 50. So going against some stereotypes maybe. Other stuff is that there is a big cultural differences when it comes to taste, what motivations appeal to people. Uh, I will summarize it so that in more community-driven countries like China, people are more appealed by the same motivations, whereas in the West there is a lot bigger difference on what people like to play. So kind of surprising indie games on more community driven countries might not be the best idea. And then the next question is that what if we could use all this information that I provided to design a game that people like, that they are already, that our game is serving some motivation, and we could use that to learn what sort of people they are. Even if you don't do this at the beginning, like I would maybe encourage you to do, but if you are more inspiration driven designer, still, uh, if you do the analysis of your own game and see what motivations your game serves, you will find out who is going to like your game. It won't be just your gut feeling or guesswork, but you can actually base it on something. And how to do it is basically go through your own game uh, together with your teammates. think how much will your game serve excitement, destruction, fantasy story, and so forth, and compare it to the Quantic Foundry's profiles, and bam, you're already knowing the game, who you're making the game for. They share quite a lot of information already. I have reverse engineered it into a spreadsheet that basically will do all the necessary math that you will then get all the archetypes that are there. And then you can find out stuff like this, that okay, if bounty hunter is the answer, you will have some text explanation, but you will also find out more of that, how is the gender split, and if someone is pondering on the gender split, the data where they get is more from gamers, those who identify as gamers. So casual gamers are a smaller group on their database, or how many participated. That's why there is still the quite big gender split, even though from all gamers, if we include mobile gamers and casual gamers, then the split won't be as high. So you will learn that okay, in bounty hunter profile there is more female than average archetype, and the median age, how much of them are core gamers, hardcore gamers, casual gamers, how is that related to other archetypes. In this case, a lot less. Bounty hunters are not hardcore gamers. And then when are they playing the games, and what other games are popular in for this archetype. Now, how to do this, or what is the real beauty, is of course the with spreadsheets, which every designer should love. I love spreadsheets, and it's pretty straightforward work. So just go through each each of the motivations, decide how much uh, that motivation is served by your game, and in this slide you can more clearly see that for example, the competition. It's not just about is there competition, but the zero is as good as the 100%. Or just place your game, go through all of the 12 ones, put them in a spreadsheet, and then you will see what is the best match, what's the second best match, third best match, and so forth. And then you will have the data. I think I will now quickly show here. Did it work? So you guys see now something different, right? I hope so. Someone will say something if not. So this is the spreadsheet that you can use when you start doing. This is from actual life. So team I'm working with, we put our research, how our proposed game would work. No line of code, no art yet, but what we are now designing, how much each of these are served. And then just that because we are different and someone might be blind, it's always better to do it in teams, that it's not just one opinion, but team opinion. And then this spreadsheet calculates for us, it was Bard, Architect, and Bounty Hunter in that order. We can see if we want to visualize, we can see how it fits. We can get the actual numbers here, how well they match. And then I go back to my slides. Then you can do whatever analysis you want to do. For us, it looks something like this, that we calculated what were the best match for average and what was the median. Then it would continue a lot longer. But basically, that what motivation was a big off, like which visualization, like which motivation was really off. So For Bard, our proposed game, they would want a lot less power, but the other two were perfectly there. Bard would want clearly more community, but the others would want tiny bit less community. So I guess that's good. Story, every archetype would want little bit more story. Everyone would want little bit less discovery. Bard would want more competition and so forth. You get the idea. And then our analysis here would say what kind of small tweaks to the design should be done so that they would fit the most perfectly. We decided to focus more heavily on Bard and Architect than Bounty Hunter, but in anyways. So I had the same explanations. I just made this slide so I didn't remember. But anyways, when you compare the archetype data, check who is the closest archetype and then choose which ones you want to go after, and then start looking closer to the motivations. And by searching for the mismatches, you can basically compare it to your design pillars if you're established them, that are you going to serve these players well. You can then change priorities for your features. What are the features that these players want the most? Maybe the pacing can, like I know one of your games is discussing pacing. Maybe this can provide answer for the pacing question. Or content if you are pondering on level design guidelines or something else, then how could you better make it fit the, uh, the archetypes even before you would have the ready game, that you don't need to, that hopefully when you go to playtesting you are verifying things. You don't need to find out as much things because you are already beforehand having tools how to aim better and then verifying via playtesting that what does the players like. Yeah, so to sum things up, I think I didn't need the extra hour after all, which I said that this might take. You should analyze your game concept early. You are going to save a lot of time, and later when you are running a company, it means that you're gonna save a lot of money if you do analyze your game concept early before you jump into making the game. Or you can, some things of course you should be jumping to make, but before uh, you are developing and then later finding out that but this doesn't fit, or why don't the players like, well, you could foresee things earlier. So compare the data to the Quantic Foundries data, find the best player profiles to match and try to learn as much as you can about them, because typically what I see when it comes to uh, like establishing target audience is that the best way, like this example is best because typically it's like we aim for generic, but we aim for to single parents who are between 30 and 40 years old. At least this wouldn't be extremely large. Uh, so I would say this is already better than many teams or even companies do. But what if, in spite of the context of your game, what your game is about, what if your game doesn't serve the motivations that people between 30 and 40 years old care about? Or maybe your best matching audiences are clearly not this age. Bear in mind, Quantic Foundry's data is focused on the more hobbyists, so kind of those who are eager to study and learn about gaming. So gamers' average age is around 35 years. Quantic Foundry's data, it's around 24 years. So everything twists with Quantic Foundry more towards the younger ages. Uh, but keeping all that in mind, you would do so much better by using early on the player motivation to help your game design. And of course, later then establishing player personas which the marketers want to use, player personas. I don't know if, well, I'll quickly explain. Personas would then be marketers' tool, how they could better personalize the messages that go out. But archetype is more generic, and I dare say better. Like it's based on actual research data, and player personas are then more of that. Okay, it's our decisions, our imagined player is player personas, or where we aim the market. That's the gut feeling that that you have about your players. So that's it. Any questions or comments? I don't know how Discord works. Can you get your voice out or not? But I would love it if you can. I will now also check the Discord in case there is questions or comments. Okay, at least Jesper has done the own player profile. You can write also your questions if you can't use voice. Also, if any team uh, that if you don't have already an agenda, what would you want out of me from the one-on-ones? I was thinking on using at least half of the time to make sure that you can do exactly this exercise on the one-on-one session. So establishing target audience that actually bases on something, not just gut feeling. You can rely that this is based on something else, which always looks professional than gut feeling. Any tips on how to come up with unique selling points? That is, if needed, the next time it's my week, I would give tools exactly on that, but I can give you hints already now because well, it's an excellent question. It's very important question. Uh, I like using like first of all, if you're a domain expert, meaning that your team really loves this genre, it's of course easier than to establish unique selling points because if you can be confident that we know this genre in and out, that's great. But if you're not, then I would do comparative analysis. Comparative analysis, which I hinted already on this session, is hopefully a thorough analysis where you put your game and the genre's king or queen game. And if your game is a genre mix, then take one game from one genre and one best-selling game from the other genre, and then you start comparing. In some places you will lose, hopefully in some places you will win. Uh, that will help you see that okay, well when we do this way, this is clearly better than this million copies selling game, at least for specific audiences. Uh, I use example. I don't know if there is strategy game fans, but for actually at least 20 years, Civilization was the king of 4X games. Nobody dared to challenge them until Amplitude Games, French company, had made fantasy 4X games, and then they came onto the direct combat with Firaxis, with their humankind. And they have clearly few things better. Anyone who knows Civilization, the warfare is such that two units, when they fight, there is an animation and then one dies or health goes down, not always die, which is great. I like it. But those who would want deeper military gameplay, Humankind serves that. There you put units into a hero character and then when units clash, opens up the table where you move in a tactical combat. All the units that were involved, it will be like I don't remember how many turns, but few turns combat where the armies fight one another. So clearly, those who love military gameplay in 4X strategies are going to like that better than Civilization. And that's how they carved a space where they were very successful, even if Civilization is the king of the genre. And actually, looking how well the Civilization 7 did, it's now on 50% on Steam. Well, Humankind did a lot better than Civilization in that sense. I haven't checked the sales reports, but anyways. So comparative analysis. And together with comparative analysis, I will show on the lesson if that's going to be my next lesson. This all depends on what I see on the one-on-ones that I try to find the best topics cover. So folklore, folk forge. If you want this to be, let me know that this answer wasn't enough. Then you want to learn even more. Then, anyways, then I will make sure that that's going to be the next session whenever it's my turn again. But usually I encourage also to do SWOT analysis, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats when you do comparative analysis, because the chances are, of course, that the best-selling game in the genre has better resources, and we're fighting an uphill battle. So then it's also best to check what are the threats and opportunities, and why would a small team do well against the best in the genre. But I encourage don't do comparative analysis to game that has sold badly, because you want to sell well and you need to have arguments for yourself during development, but later for gamers, why your game would provide experiences that the best-selling game in the genre doesn't provide. It doesn't have to be literally the best-selling, but best out of the really well-sold games in that genre that is closest to your game. Did I answer, Taisto, to your question? Any other questions or comments? Let me. Can you put thumbs up? Yes, or put the. Can you put thumbs up in Discord? I haven't given lectures here, but if you can, at least then on chat, if you can't put thumbs up, I want to see how many of you had heard about the player motivation model before today. Comment in the chat. Okay, good. So you are educated bunch. Good. Then Jesper and Jerry, after Jesper and Jerry has put something, whatever they are writing. Another question is that did you still learn something new today? Good. At least someone has used it already earlier. That's good. But then thumbs up if you learned something new in the session, since you are all familiar with the Quantic Foundry or the player motivation. Okay, good. So it wasn't totally in vain. Good. So yeah, I think unless you still have questions, I think two teams haven't booked the time for the one-on-one meeting. I am there, of course, to serve you. If you have questions about your project that you want to focus, we will focus on that. If not, then I still want to have the session so that I manage to keep up with you. But we will then do this exercise if there isn't anything more urgent. Uh, so that I will also know that you know how to use it. I will post the link to my spreadsheet well, somewhere in Discord. It will be without edit rights because it's a template. So make a personal copy of it and then start doing stuff with it. If there is no further questions, then I thank you for your participation. I know it's a winter holiday week, but I'm happy that everyone, or this many at least, I don't know how many of you are in total, but a good attendance regardless. So thank you for that. So see you then next time and on the one-on-one sessions.